Ora vorrei sapere quante persone sono venute qui per ascoltare il talk, scusate, che segue. Siamo un pochino in ritardo e faccio un piccolo switch di lingua per accogliere sul palco di HackInBo Gámez Molina, che viene direttamente da Barcelona. Un applauso por él. Mientras que se prepara, bueno, ¿cuánta gente está aquí para escuchar a él? ¿Cuánti sono venuti per sentire il suo talk? Sulle mani? Ok, beh, mi sembra un buon numero, Joel. Joel es un super speaker y verdaderamente estamos encantados de tener a él en este palco. Voy a switchar un poquito de idioma. El talk será en inglés, no vi preoccupate, il talk sarà in inglese. Joel ha parlato in importantissimi eventi, DEFCON, ma Black Hat USA e anche Rudecon, e ci presenta un talk dal titolo Kitsune 1C2 to Control Them All, che si concentra sui tool di command and control. Come sapete e come vedremo, questi tool sono molto diversi, hanno varia natura, sono di varie tipologie, e la sfida di Joel è quella di provare a renderli tra loro interoperabili in modo da avere una singola interfaccia visiva che Joel ci farà anche vedere in una demo live. Vi prego, non andate a pranzo, ci vediamo tra pochissimo. Ciao!
Hello everyone, and welcome to this great presentation called Kitsune, one command and control to control them all. Before beginning, I want to thank your organization for giving me the opportunity to stay here today with all of you. I try to go as fast as possible. My name is Joel, and I work as a senior red team cybersecurity expert, and I'm doing red team operations, adversary simulation, and these things. I break things, okay? So in the past, in another life, I worked as a system administrator for more than 10 years, and 2 of them as also the chief technology officer of the cyberwar startup. Currently, I teach ethical hacking, pentesting, and PowerShell on high-level organizations and universities like the Catalonia Polytechnical University, UPC in Spanish, and often speak on some conferences, from national conferences in Spain, international, like Black Hat, DEFCON, DeepSec, RootedCon, and so on. I have a personal blog, darby.net, where I tell the things that I did if I talk on a conference and this stuff. And in my spare time, I have not so many time. I do some hacking tools like AutoRT-Pound, Glotopolis, Evolno VNC, Thunderstorm, Pierre Ransom, and of course, Kitsune. Well, right now. Go to the basics. Basically, I talk about command and control. These tools are very used on red team campaigns, on ethical hacking, on security audits. Basically, permits us to execute things on remote computers. Okay? There are hundreds of them. There are some famous like Cobalt Strike, Havoc, Sliver, Mythic, and so on, and others that nobody knows. Okay? The problem here is the compatibility, the compatibility between them, okay? So if you have a Cobalt Strike beacon over HTTPS and execution with a binary on Windows system, you can have the same thing with Havoc, for example, using the same protocol, the same execution method, all the same, but you can use a Cobalt Strike session on Havoc, and you can use a Havoc session on Cobalt Strike. Even if we are using the same protocol and the same techniques and the same things, okay? I like to use an example here. It's like, not today, because today with Netflix and these things, they are changing, but in the past, you have one remote for TV, another remote for the stereo, another remote for the DVD, and another remote and another remote. So why not have one universal remote for all the things? So this is the idea or the concept that I have in my mind. Why we don't have a universal command and control, more or less. It's complicated, but more or less. I think it's an easy example. Anyways, I tried to explain how this beginning. So in all my talks, always begin like, this is a funny history, this is a true basic history that I found a lot of CVEs and 0 days. But this talk, it's pretty different. This talk, it's not about a funny history or a 0-day history. It's about my history, my own history, my progress doing malware, doing programming different hacking tools. So I did a lot of different tools like fake data gen to create fake data in Spanish format. We can create ID, social ID, bank accounts. They are fake, but use the legit algorithms to create. It's complicated. There are a lot of maths here. And another ones like ransomware simulator and a lot of different shells. So I'm trying to effort to integrate or to unify this chaotic world of shells and web shells because I'm exhausted to use 40 shells and 40 web shells for the same things to launch a who am I, a hostname. So the end of this, I create some tools. I try to use tools, tools that works on Linux, works on Windows, and for example, a lot of things do it in PowerShell. And if you have PowerShell installed in your Linux, on your Mac, or wherever you want, you can use the same tool on different systems and works equal. So the result, Kitsune in this case, it's the sum of all of this. This ambitious project was born from the same necessities, the same idea to integrate all of tools on a single user graphical interface. Well, I can't talk about my history or about my programming path without talking about AutoRD-bound. This was my first famous tool, and I present on Black Hat and these things. So it's a post-exploitation framework that automates the shadow attack. I published this on 2017, and on 2017 there are no tools for this purpose, and there are no name for this technique. So I put the name of this technique and create the tool at the same time. So basically, I want to keep the idea that I create a framework and I take some ideas from different modules from AutoRD-bound to create later the command and control. Okay? It's like we are joining pieces. So we have different execution methods. You have different modules from third parties to dump credentials, keylogger, and you can do a port forwarding, you can move, you can pivot, and the most important thing, it's the last one, it's the automatic pass the hash or pass the ticket or pass the token. Basically, you can move between computers only knowing the IP address. If we are on the same domain, they use the same account. Okay? Let's see a little video about this. I think it's easy if you see movement. This is AutoRD-bound. All is in real time, except one thing, to go fast. Okay, so the first thing is execute as administrator automatically and create some exceptions on Windows Defender, in this case, when you choose your language. There are Russian too, if you want to make an apt. You have the exclusion, and you can do several things. Here, we are selecting SMB shell and execution over SMB. In this case, only put the host name and press intro 2 times, and this thing do the automatic connection between machines and pass the credentials between machines without need to crack or something else. When all the process finish, basically the shadow sessions is a feature that permits to you to see or control another computer to support. Okay? So if you manipulate all these things, you can see or control a victim without permission. And using legit binaries from the system that they there don't see anything. Okay, so we have the shell, we have the session, and when you have the remote session, you can execute another time, another auto-RD pound on the victim, and load different modules. In this case, we are dumping credentials with Mimikatz. You know, the tool do an AMSI bypass automatically, so the speak from ATU, it's very nice to see before. We are dumping credentials with Mimikatz. This is a remote session, and the user don't know that we are controlling their session over RDP. And the session, it's not closed, very important. We have the output from Mimikatz from the clipboard over RDP automatically. And when we close the tool on the victim side and close the connection, the tool cleans all the things that happens, including the exclusions from Windows Defender on the attacker side, but you can use another machine from the victim to do. They are clear now, and the clipboard, it's clean too. There's no way to recover anything. Nothing happens here, okay? So let's talk about shells and web shells. This talk is about this, but I want to see auto-RD pound to understand the modules and framework and how I create these things, and later use these ideas on the command and control. PyShell, it's a web shell that you can use on terminal, and it works with get and post methods. You can use a basic auth and cookies. Works with different technologies like Tomcat, WordPress, PHP, ASP, a lot of different technologies. Even if the server it's Windows or Linux, there are no difference. PyShell always works. Okay, the most important thing with PyShell and makes very different from another web shells is the payload. It's only 10 or 20 lines, depends the technology, and all the logic, all the things that you can upload and download files, you have a command history, you can clean the screen, you can move between directories. All this logic, it's on attacker side, not on victim side. So the payload is always pretty little, and it's easier to obfuscate or hide between legit code. Okay, so this is the main idea of PyShell. We have a video too to go faster. Okay, so in this case, I use PHP to create a local web server. It's on real time, sorry. Okay, so it's the typically command injection. Okay, this is the first thing you learn on hacking. This is a ping execution, and if you use a pipe, for example, or semicolon or something, you can execute commands. Okay, this is the typically way to inject code on PHP. But the problem here is to obtain a web shell here. You need to upload or create a reverse shell like Netcat, but with PyShell, you can pass different parameters and you have a web shell working on a command execution without uploading anything. And you can move between directories, you can upload files, you can download files, you can do a lot of things with a command execution, with a command injection, without uploading anything, without Netcat. It's incredible. And you have a history too of the commands that you execute. And in this case, I try to load the password file to a text file. Okay, as you can see, the file it's downloaded without any problems. Okay, so do this with command injection, it's very complicated, but with PyShell, all the things are very easy. In this case, I talk about HTTP shell. In this case, it's for reverse shells, and we have Windows and Linux clients. Okay, for Windows, it's a PowerShell file, and for Linux, it's a bash file. The communication is over HTTP or HTTPS and simulate dev tunnel request. If you don't know, dev tunnels, it's a technology from Microsoft that permits to use tunnel, okay, with Microsoft domain and Microsoft binaries. So this is very, very useful on red teams. But you can use with dev tunnels or not. You can use between computers in Hack the Box or your lab or something similar without any problems. And more or less work as PyShell. You can download files, you have command history. The prompt is the same that PyShell. So if you are familiar using PyShell, it's better. And the most important, it's not full TTI, but you can show errors and permits to use sudo without full TTI. Okay? So let's see in action. This case is the typical reverse shell, but the important thing here is that I always use this even if the system is a Linux, Windows, Mac, or similar. Always works without any problem. Okay, and the typical, you can execute commands, you have a help with the commands. You can import a PowerShell file from memory. If your remote victim, it's Windows, you can load a PowerShell file and load from memory and execute from memory without any problems. This is the Linux connection, and right now we try with Windows. It's a Windows 10. With Defender. It's not here, but it's running. And you receive the reverse shell as usual, and you can execute commands, download files, all the same things. So the idea is with PyShell, you can cover more or less all the web shells, and with HTTP shell, you can cover all your reverse shells that you need to use. And with these two tools, more or less, you can cover a lot of things, okay? And we download the WinInit file without any problems, okay? Well, let's talk about the new beginning. When I work on this big project, a very complicated project, I need motivation to work on this. So I don't know if you have the typical list that 10 things to do before to die. I have my own list. And there are things like write a book. Currently, I don't have any time to write a book, but probably in the future, I write something about red teaming or something similar, but not today. The another one is planting a tree. I don't know why this is on the list. All the plants at home are dying without. So I don't know why it's on the list, but who knows. The next one is jumping from airplane. The same as before, I have motion sickness, so probably it's not a good idea. And the good one is to create your own command and control. Probably you don't know, but currently the trending topic it's AI, all the things, AI, coffee machine with AI, okay? But 2 or 3 years ago, the trending topic on the hacking offensive community is you have your own command and control. If you don't have your own command and control, you are nobody, okay? So I began this years ago, of course, before the AI trending topic. Okay, but the real motivation, this is a joke. The real motivation is like this. Sometimes when I play Hack the Box, or I'm doing a certificate from offensive security, or doing a red team campaign, often I have a shell, another one, another shell, another one, another one, another one, and finally, I finish like this. Where is my shell? Where is? Because I can find where is. So finally, I think if I can take all the shells on the same tool, this is very easy for us. So I begin to work on Kitsune. But what is Kitsune? Kitsune is a Japanese word that means fox, okay, the animal, fox. But they use this word not for the fox, they use for a spirit, yokai, if you want, a ghost, or something similar that protect forest and village. Okay? So Japanese think the fox, the animal in this case, it's mythologic and have magic abilities and things, magical things. Okay? So talking about Kitsune, Kitsune have magical powers, have the ability to transform. Usually it's a woman, but can be a fox, a woman with fox tails, depends. But the important thing here is that the power of the Kitsune can increase with the time and the wisdom, but you can know the power of a Kitsune looking at the tails. They are with 1, with 2, with 4, or with 9. The most powerful one is with 9 tails. It's an immortal god, an immortal and powerful spirit of the forest. Okay? So, my Kitsune, it's a modern and responsive graphical user interface with different applications, with different third parties, if you want, that I know as tails. Okay? We have a command execution history. We have a compiler and delivery, like Cobalt Strike, Havoc, or any another command and control. We have profiles. We can do reports. And if you want or you prefer the keyboard over the mouse, you can move over all the command and control with the keyboard, only using the keyboard. Okay, the tails, in this case, we have many, not 9, but many, like 7, maybe. It's bind connections for Windows with netexec, EvilWinRM, WinExec Pro. For rivers, we can use HTTP-shell, DNSCAT2, Beeline. For Linux bind, we have PwnCat. For rivers, the same as you can see before, DNSCAT2, PwnCat. And for webshell, only PyShell for today. I'm trying to work with a mate that have a webshell called Kraken, but maybe in the future. And you have different options for delivery, HTTP, HTTPS, SMB, wherever you want. Okay, so let's hack the planet. The objectives for Kitsune are to create a new standard to complement another command and controls. Basically, with Kitsune and Havoc, or Kitsune and Cobalt Strike, I'm trying to cover the 90% of the things that you need. Okay, only with 2 windows, not 47 terminals. Okay, so another thing is to obtain a graphical version of your favorite tools. If you like netexec, you don't have an option to use on a graphical user interface. With Kitsune, you can do it. And Kitsune offers things with these tools. For example, netexec or crackmapexec don't permit to you to have a semi-interactive shell, but with Kitsune you can. So Kitsune offers different things on each tool to, I don't know how to explain, but it's better if you use in Kitsune. You have more options in Kitsune than the tools using only the terminal application. So facilitate the management for different shells on the same window. You have historical data, and you can have reports. So you can do a report with netexec. With Kitsune, you can do a report. And the most important thing is the last one. It's fast reboot and avoid accidental connection loss. I have one slide only for this thing. For me, it's the most important. Okay? Development. It's all the thing. It's do it in Python 3 using Tkinter. I do in Python 3 because at the first, all the tools that I include are made on Python. So I think Python with Python works flawlessly. But I never do a graphical user interface on Python, so please don't do it. I don't do it never again on my whole life. Never again. It's a hell. Okay? So basically, Kitsune intercept the standard in and the standard out. So we only need to send the standard in to another application and intercept the standard out to show in the Kitsune. So if another application updates tomorrow, there are no problem. So I don't touch any line of code of third parties. No one. Okay? So all the things are threats. Graphical interface, it's a threat. If you use a listener, it's a threat. If you do a report, it's a threat. If you have a session, it's a threat. All the things are threats, separate threats. Okay? I use the typically HTTP server module for Python 3 for delivery. All the session data, all the commands, all the history are saved on JSON files. We don't need a PostgreSQL or MySQL, or we don't need a database for this. With JSON, it's too much. And the most important, it's the resource consumption. It's less 1% of CPU, and you only need 60 megabytes of RAM for 10 or 12 sessions. Okay? Cobalt Strike, it's using for one, like 300 maybe, or 400, and more CPU. Okay? It's not Java. The structure, it's very easy. You have the data folder. This is the sessions, commands, all the things, relative sessions. The help of each tool, when you write help, you can see the help of different tools. Modules, in this case, we have different Python files, and each Python have a different mission. For example, the compiler only compiles. The obfuscator only obfuscates. The reverse only use the reverse connections. The bind file only binds sessions. And each file have own mission. Okay? The payloads folder, the command and control save the payloads here to delivery and execute later. Profiles, if you are working on a red team and playing Hack the Box and doing another thing, you can have different profiles, and each profile have different sessions and different things. Okay? And you recover at any time. Tails, netexec, PyShell, HTTP shell, all the tools are in the tails folder. There are different colors, if you prefer blue or red or purple, or sometimes helps to identify different profiles. So this preference, it's saved on the profile. And the main Python file. Okay? And the last one, for me, it's the most important thing, it's the Nekomancer. In Japanese, Neko, it's cat. Okay? And Necromancer, I read the definition, it's a sorcerer specialized in the dark arts, capable of destroying life, raising the dead, and summoning spirits. These two words, Neko and Necromancer, form the name of this strange creature, the Nekomancer. I have a Spanish joke here, but I don't know, I know that you probably don't speak Spanish, but in Spanish, cat is gato, and Necromancer is nigromante. So if we join together, in Spanish it's like gatomante, and sounds like someone is cheating you with a cat. So probably sounds better in English, okay? Have more punch. So the Nekomancer is able to control life, death, and resurrection of any shells. You never lose a cell again, never. Necromancer try to bring them back to life. Even if it's a bind session, a reverse session, or it's lost in hell for some reason. Okay? So let's see a live demonstration. We are on time? Yes, we are on time. Okay. This is Kitsune, and as you can see, we have settings here with the Necromancer. You can use all sessions, only bind, only reverse, or you can disable too. You can change the colors, you can update all the tails, you can view different things, payloads, modules, delivery, profiles, reporting, and you have the typically about with the Kitsune logo, the updates. There are no updates right now, okay? And I try to play faster, okay, to see how it works in live. So the first thing is to open a PHP inside the payloads folder. So I use my own computer to this session to go fast, you know. Okay, so let's generate a web shell with PyShell. In this case, we use PHP. Don't obfuscate, but we can obfuscate. It's not necessary at this case. And if we go to the payloads folder, we have the web shell here, okay? So let's connect. In this case, it's HTTP, localhost, web shell, PHP, and get, for example. Connect, and we have the first session. Okay, so who am I? Hostname, you know. Okay, another one, it's Linux bind shell with Tomcat, for example. I have a machine for this, made as potable, typically in hacking. And the password, it's the same as the user. Okay. For example, you can create a listener. We have the session. We are creating our for reverse connection, for example. In this case, I can use the 443. The tail, you can select different tails. And for example, if I choose the DNS one, the protocol could be used DNS, don't be HTTP. And if you choose HTTP, the same, okay? So we have a listener running. We have the second session here. I move with the keyboard up and down, left or right. We can close with escape. We can tabulate. We have autocomplete with commands, as you can see. And for example, this I never see this on any command and control. You can do a sudo ID, for example, password. And you can do a sudo without any problems inside a command and control. Okay, more connections. In Windows, for example, I have another machine running in my computer. Administrador in Spanish, you know. An authentication, for example, if you choose a hash, you need to see the hash because it's very long. To know if you are wrong or not, but when you write a password, you can see, because if a mate looking at your computer or something similar. And in this case, we can use SMB, for example. And we have all the information on the event viewer. We can do things while the connection is working without any problems. We can do a delivery. In this case, at 000, port 1234, for example. And we can generate a reverse shell. If I choose, for example, DNS cat, I don't have any listener. But if I choose the HTTP shell, I have a listener, okay? And in this case, PowerShell file. I generate a payload, another payload. It's generated here. Okay, so we have another connection. The important things, every session have different help You have the common commands, and in this case, PyShell commands. If I send help here, I have the poundcat commands. And of course, in the next one, if I use help, I'll have a lot of modules from netexec. For example, if I use nanodump, for example, I don't need to know how are working any parameters on every tool. It's very easy. I only need to write the name, and that's it. This sends to the standard in, to the netexec, and intercept the standard out. Okay? And it's working flawlessly without any problems. And I want to go fast, so I think more or less it's understand. The important things, the necromancer. If I shut down everything, it's crazy. I shut down everything and run again, or load another profile, or everything. If the necromancer is enabled, you can see a message, and all the sessions bring back to life automatically, always, all the time. All the sessions. If you lost a session, necromancer now and try to bring back again, all the time. So you never lost a session again. And don't mind if it's a bind session or reverse session. So when you connect over a secure shell, it's a bind session. Evil, win, RM are a bind session. So Kitsune can reconnect all the bind sessions automatically, okay? And as you can see, if I try to execute any command, it's working flawlessly. And if I try to create a report, for example, imagine you are doing this. So if I go to the reports, I have a report with all the commands, with the sessions, with all the things. Okay, so I think it's nice, the report. So, and more or less, I think it's understand. You have the listener running. You can do a delivery like Cobalt Strike. I think it's okay. If you want to check with more detail, it's on my GitHub. It's a developer version in my GitHub, so you can download and try some things. It's a special version. It's a developer version, and not all things are working. It's only for early adopters, for people that want to try, and people that wants to help me to develop this thing, because it's complicated, and I'm only one person. Okay, so Cobalt Strike, it's a big company, okay, and I'm only one person. So keep this in mind. Wait a moment, the universal remote. Okay, so things to do. I want to release the second version. It's a beta version. I'm working on it. So I try to all the things, more or less, are working on next version. So I need to complete the compilation function and custom module integration. Currently, the custom modules are not working, but I'm on it. The delivery functions, all the same. It's working on HTTP, but I need to improve for the HTTPS and the file share system in Linux, you know. The report, it's working well, but I want to add timestamps and other things that can help to you to do a more professional report. And finally, create a step-by-step website or something similar to understand how to deploy, how to use, and how to work with Kitsune. So, and knowledge to David, mate that helped me a lot with PyShell, Evasion or Hector to help me a lot with HTTP shell, and of course, all the organization of HackInBo to take me here. So, grazie mille.